they have no reason why they should stay at police academy. And I think partially because things they learn at school are just complete bullshit. But they realize like the skills they earned or learned at school are very practical, and they apply them, and it becomes meaningful, and it serves purpose, and they save certain people, and they realize, okay, that's something, it's not as bullshit as I thought it would be, you know? Like, when you go into the military, it's like, you do the same thing, you go through these drills, and you feel like this is completely meaningless, but I went to Kuwait, not that I shot anybody, but a lot of things you learn, you know, this stuff, they're useful.
I think it's interesting in the contours of Korean cinema, if you actually think about the last 40 years, and certain kind of representation of police that came out. Obviously in the 80s and 90s, there weren't that much of a representation of cops, and then, you know, it wasn't very favorable. And then you have the Kang Cheol-jung, you know, kind of representation that you had, oh, they're really stinky and corrupt, and they take money all the time, but they still have to be there, right? Because they're part of the fabric of Korean society. You know, there's a kind of tolerance. Okay, we have to accept them. You know, and they do what they do. They're because they're, you know, our fathers, and certainly people we need in society. You know, so there's a maturation process, and then here comes your film, I think, which is, I mean, I'm certainly somebody who's actually pretty old, I think, you know, compared to you guys and the characters in the film. But I feel as if there's maybe a new cast of, okay, you know, they're struggling with this. Can we stay, or can we, you know, should we not stay? But at the end, I think, you know, that there is different kind of, again, approach of thinking about, you know, cops and the police and the institution of, I think, you know, law enforcement. There is a moment, I think, which is kind of interesting, and you know, maybe there's a subconscious kind of thing going on, but you know, when he goes and says, "Japse," you know,
Oh, yeah.
and then you're the pigs, and he's running away from the older cops, and the older cops are like, "We can't take this, we can't take this, we're gonna have to chase them," you know, and it's a long chase, and I like that scene just because. Yes, it makes sense in the narrative of the film. There's a causality to it, but here is, I think, a conflict too. You know, between the older generation cop and the younger, and you constantly pay, obviously, attention. Here is a way you can actually improve the system. You know, you guys are all like complacent, basically. You know, you basically think procedure is more important, and the system is more important than saving lives. You know, and that's where things are wrong. And here comes a new way of thinking about and conceptualizing maybe the cops altogether. So I thought it was kind of interesting the way you bring up this subject, and certainly a social. Every time you actually do a representation where, you know, try to portray cops, it's a social statement. You know, no matter what it is,
Right.
it can't be just like comedy, right? So I thought it was, again, you know, intriguing in those perspectives.
It was a very humble moment, like very ironic.
Yeah, no, I think there are moments that I think is quite good, you know, because it's, you know, I mean, again, police enforcement and you know, all those things is, for me, it's very difficult to fathom. Again, with just a positive, you know, yeah, and I think. People, you know, the 386 generation usually feel that way, but here is, again, a new way of thinking about all those. So that was good.
I wonder if we could, part of that last question is something that really interested me, is not just the locations, but the time of, that is like in the middle of the night.
That too.
It made me think of like Scorsese's After Hours, or these movies that are like, so these all-night movies, like things that happen after hours, things, so, you know, these vibrant neighborhoods, whatever, they're in Gangnam or whatever, but it's like way after everybody's left and they're kind of empty streets. Was that part of what you were thinking about when you were making the movie? This the idea of like the sort of empty city, the late at night, the sort of the weird things that happen very late.
Actually, Nonyeon is not like, I mean, Gangnam is such a,
Sure.
it's a big city, and if you know, I was born and raised in Gangnam all my life, so I know Gangnam. And Nonyeon is a place where, like, dark things can happen. It was a practical approach. And my wife owns a studio in Nonyeon area, so I've been walking back and forth. So actually, the place where the kidnapping was done is like a couple of walks away from my wife's studio, and it has such dramatic like curve that I felt like, wow, maybe that's what the kids are going to go through. Like it kind of foreshadows like the journey itself. So I don't think I had a kind of romantic notion about like after life, I mean after hours and how dark things creep into this glamorous city. No, actually that district itself was fairly dark. I mean you can see it from like the lighting. If you go into like the Gangnam-yeok area, it's very bright. But here there's really
Yeah, there's so many classic movies too. I mean, you probably know. Kim Young-sa's Nowhere to Run.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Cheokja, Chaser also. With the way in
Right.
which the slopes and the alleyway works, it's almost impossible to shoot. But when you get it, I think the way you actually got it also in the film, it's very cinematic photogrammetry too.
There
But
was
the shooting wasn't very difficult.
yeah, I actually didn't get all my shots that I wanted. So I was walking back home. It was really cold, and I felt like I screwed up this film. So bad.
Which
I-
at which moment?
like the chasing scene, I needed more shots, and then so
There's so many chases. Which?
the first kidnapping scene.
Oh, first
And felt like I completely screwed up my first.
Yeah, it worked.
So
I think the
it
way.
was it was the editing. So when you're making a film, I just want to tell you, like don't cry. Just make sure you work with the right editor, because they're magicians. He'll save you.
Yeah, because you feel the tension. I think it's a close up, right, of Park
Yeah.
yeah, you got that, and then you go, wow.
I'm curious, what did you feel like you were missing? What shots do you feel like you wish
honestly,
you had?
Well, there was I don't remember quite honestly, but a lot of shots are just shaking too much.
Oh, okay.
And it was if you watch it without music, you see some missing shots. But I just remember like it was the 9th day of shooting this film, and I was walking home, and I felt completely, I was just mortified. Like, God, because I wanted an extra day, and they wouldn't give
And
me
they
an
wouldn't,
extra day.
okay.
give you the pickup.
Nah,
Pickup
it
day?
was a really tight schedule. I had to finish everything in 50 days. And that neighborhood, like, to shoot, I think I actually had like 10 hours to shoot everything.
Oh, okay.
And from
In
like
one night,
in
was
one
it?
night
Oh,
basically,
okay.
and it was really cold. So I mean, it was tough.
Go ahead,
You should go first.
Victoria, okay,
Oh, me? Cool.
yeah, go ahead, Monica.
So I have two questions. So first, I want to ask you how this film is different from other comedic crime narratives. I think you mentioned that you add that personal growth aspect to it. But I feel like a lot of times that is often a given in a comedic crime film.
Can you
So I'm
give me an
wondering how.
example?
Sorry?
Can you be more specific? Like there are a lot of comedic crime.
I can't think of one, like, I can't think of, like, a specific film, on top of my, from the top of my head, but, I don't know. But I felt like it was just a very familiar, narrative to me, so I was just wondering, what is your contribution, in terms of when you're making this kind of film? And second question is, when you are representing, 조선족 in a specific way, and to the, I guess to the English-speaking audience who don't realize that there is a difference in tone and language for the kidnappers who are Chinese Korean, or Korean Chinese rather, and you're creating that ultimate other who are the villains. I wonder what was going through your
Are you offended? Are
Sorry?
you offended?
Am I offended?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not Chinese, but I feel like to a certain aspect, I mean, I think the same critique took place when 범죄도시
Okay.
screened, right? So I'm just wondering what your intention was when you were creating that group of people who are acting as villains, as opposed to making, you know, any other Korean as.
Yeah, okay. First, I was creating a criminal organization, and it's specifically linked to red market. Okay, they're selling eggs. They will be looking, okay? And on top of it, I create a pyramid where